Hi, welcome to Anaprime Recap. You are a hunter of supernatural relics, which if used for evil could cause a worldwide disaster. We are in the anime, Spriggan. Episodes 1 and 2. At a secret military base, some researchers are working to try to discover the origin and powers of an unknown object. This material has non-standard properties compared to other ores. The major of the machiner's platoon, Humming Bat, is extremely interested in the new discovery. He approaches the sphere with a different look and by establishing a connection with the object, ends up triggering it. And so the commander says that it is called Megiddo flame. According to Humming Bat, that material would be responsible for bringing a punishment of fire to all humanity. The scientists, realizing the sudden increase in temperature, try to somehow disable the device, but the army commanded by the major quickly eliminates all researchers with their weapons. However, there is an intruder on site who is willing to interfere with the military's evil plan. Spriggan enters the base and quickly manages to knock out and defeat several army soldiers, using his incredible strength to move forward, until he finds the person responsible for that evil plan. The young man finally reaches Humming Bat. The major holds the title of Bloodthirsty Shepherd. He believes that his lord wishes to punish humanity with a wave of fire, just as it happened in the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. The military then activates its mechanical arms and through them releases supersonic waves, which are capable of destroying a human brain without any problem. Spriggan reacts to try to protect himself by placing himself behind a bench. The protagonist, without having options where to flee, ends up shooting at a glass window and then destroys it with a strong kick. With that, a great wave of air enters the room, causing the ultrasonic attack of Humming Bat to be dissipated. Starting to counterattack, Spriggan destroys both arms of the opponent and then hits him with a strong punch in his face. Thus, the connection between the military and Megiddo flame is cut. Special agents from Arkham, a group that specializes in rescuing and protecting these special objects, enter the site, and after checking the entire area, guard the relic capable of emitting extreme heat of 100,000 degrees. The mission is successfully completed. Later, at the airport, Professor Rai Yamabishi was waiting for agents who would take her to the Arkham Organization building. A few seconds pass and she is met by a man who says he is responsible for taking her to the place. While walking to leave the airport, Rai receives a call from one of the Arkham agents, explaining that he ended up being late to pick her up, but that he should meet her soon. The woman then realizes that she is in a dangerous situation. The criminals notice that the teacher already realized that this was a trap and quickly put a gun in her back. They tie her up and throw her into a car, saying they won't do anything bad to her. When they were preparing to leave, they are stopped by Spriggan, who is a soldier active in the Arkham group. The agent ends up being shot twice in his chest by the criminals. The man gets out of his car to get rid of the victim's body. However, Spriggan knocks him to the ground and quickly knocks out the unknown man's partner. The soldier then frees the professor from her restraints and leads her away from the criminal's car, leaving the two men at a loss to understand what happened. Away from the danger, Professor Rai questions the agent's attitude, asking him how he was able to be shot twice and still remain intact until the present moment. Spriggan answers her that he is immortal and for that reason he was still alive. Later, the two criminals who tried to take Rai by force end up being eliminated in a brutal way by an unknown man, who is also looking for the professor, because according to him, with the woman in his hands, he will be able to awaken the fire sanctuary. Rai is finally safe at an ARCAM research hotel. The woman is offering her help to the organization to remove codes found in ruins near Mount Fuji. In return, she asks for support in finding information about her friend Yu Amane. The professor has a troubled past, living since childhood in an orphanage next to Yu, who was always by her side in good and bad times. However, she was adopted and taken to the United States, and when she tried to look for information about her friend, she realized that he had disappeared. Rai agrees to the research work while she will wait anxiously for some information about her old colleague. After a long period of study, the professor went to rest in her quarters, but is surprised by a horrible scene. Her security guards had been eliminated by a sniper. She becomes terrified and runs towards the elevator in the hope of saving herself, yet the woman continues to be chased. When she finally reaches the hotel lobby, more people are also being threatened by gunmen. Rai noticed that she was surrounded and would probably be taken by force once again. However, Spriggan enters the place and with his incredible strength, manages to finish off the shooters very easily, dealing the final blow to the two enemies with a quick throw out of the hotel. The mysterious man appears again and claims that he was responsible for sending his hunters to the hotel to capture the teacher. He warns that the woman is key to awakening the fire shrine. He leaves and says he will return to capture Rai. A few days after the incident, the professor heads to Mount Fuji alongside Spriggan in a helicopter. The two were assigned to the mission of discovering the mysteries that are surrounding the ruins near the volcano and also unraveling the reason why the criminal group wants so much to have possession of the region. Already close to the area, the aircraft suffers a sudden attack by enemies. The protagonist then saves Rai during the accident, throwing himself with her from above until he falls into the middle of a forest. The professor is extremely frustrated with the whole situation, as she does not understand why she is being pursued in such an insistent and aggressive way. To avoid future problems, she tells her bodyguard that she will surrender peacefully. Spriggan, listening to that outburst, takes out of his pocket a plate with some scriptures. He explains to the woman that it was an ancient language. Several peoples have passed through the land and many have left behind some magical artifacts. The organization Arkham is responsible for guarding and sealing these objects. That way, no individual with destructive ideas could use or harm others with the magical functionalities of these artifacts. The duo realizes that they are surrounded by snipers, who walk towards them. Spriggan asks the teacher to hide and let him sort everything out. The Arkham agent knocks out several soldiers, until the moment he enters a brutal combat with a really strong opponent. The protagonist suffers from some blows and reverses the attacks with his punches at high speed. Rai is found by the mysterious man. His name is Morova. He intends to become a world governor by awakening the power dormant inside Mount Fuji. The criminal takes the professor to the fire shrine, and in this place, the ritual is performed with the reading of ancient scriptures. As a result, a gigantic fire serpent is summoned, bringing chaos and destruction to all of Mount Fuji. Morova celebrates his great achievement. Through his new conquest, he could control the world. As a way of showing his gratitude to Rai, the man tells the girl that she can stop looking for her old friend. After all, he was by her side throughout this new journey. Spriggan's name is Yu Amane, the young man she looked for all this time. The woman is left without reaction, and at that moment, her bodyguard finally enters the fire sanctuary. Without hesitation, he tries to prevent Morova from continuing with his plan. The two have an intense battle, but the boss has a great advantage on his side, leaving Spriggan in an unfavorable situation. When the opponent was preparing to give him the last blow, the protagonist uses as a defense his plate with ancient scriptures. It contained a legendary language, and according to the young man, it was made by the god himself. Part of Morrowa's staff shatters. The protagonist takes advantage of the situation and hits him with a strong punch in his face, causing the boss to be eliminated by falling into a sea of lava. The protagonist undoes the conjuration and thereby causes the gigantic serpent of fire to fall back asleep inside the volcano. Rai meets up with Spriggan again and finally tells the protagonist that she has completed her mission to find the friend she had lost so long ago. 10 days have passed since the incident on Mount Fuji. Rai has returned to the United States, and at that moment Yu is reading a letter her friend sent him. The woman was happy to have found the person she had dreamed of seeing again. The young man remembers the hard times he had in the orphanage, being just another one among many children, but his attitudes changed when he found a little girl crying alone under a tree. Meanwhile, some researchers and historians are searching for the clue of an extremely ancient relic. The team advances inside a mountain until they finally find something mysterious that has possibly always been everyone's great desire. In his high school, Yu continues to sleep in all classes. The young man led a double life. At the same time, he was a high school student and a secret agent responsible for rescuing rare relics. The young man ends up receiving an alert in the middle of the school term and leaves urgently to carry out another mission. On the plane he was being transported on, the protagonist discovers that the object under analysis for his mission is Noah's Ark. The young man is excited, as this would be one of the greatest historical discoveries of recent times. His boss, however, warns him that this is not the case, warning him that next to the Ark was found a plaque with writings in ancient Hebrew, saying, "Noah will protect them," and "Noah will destroy them," being a mystery about what those scriptures really mean. The chief even warns Yu that the researchers were attacked by an unknown force a few weeks earlier, and so Spriggan was meant to go to the site to protect the entire group of historians. However, another squadron also has its eye on Noah's Ark and will be in action very soon to achieve their goals. Yu finally arrives at the site and is quickly very well received by all the workers and organizers of the research, but it doesn't take long for an alert to be issued about the invasion of intruders on the site. The soldiers take up a defensive position and fire all their firearms at the enemy. This time the invader is more powerful than the Hummingbat group. Carrying a machine gun in his arm, the enemy fires several shots at the soldiers who are brutally eliminated, thus causing a scenario of despair. The soldiers who tried to flee were surprised by another enemy who used extremely sharp wires to cut the body of their opponents, resulting in the complete extinction of the group that was allied with Arkham. Spriggan arrives at the site of the battle and soon realizes that the enemies are sent from the United States and they intend to steal the Ark to use their heavenly powers. Fat Man and Little Boy face Yu in a fierce and totally unbalanced battle. The protagonist most of the time tries to dodge the projectiles that are fired in his direction. When he finally manages to make an attack, he realizes that his opponent's armor is made of orichalc, just like his. The young man keeps dodging several attacks until the moment he is caught by Fat Man. The intruder begins to squeeze the neck of the young man, who no longer knew what to do. In this desperate moment, Yu receives help from Jean Jackmond, another Spriggan in the service of Arkham. Now the battle becomes even, with Fat Man taking on Yu and Little Boy fighting Jean. The fights continue to be intense. Little Boy uses his threads against his opponent, but it ends up having no effect, as Jean is extremely fast and skillful, attacking as he dodges attacks. Yu faces Fat Man with all his strength, making the invader suffer in the end for having eliminated all his companions as if they were worms. The young man, overwhelmed by hatred, delivers a blow that ends up knocking down his huge opponent. Jean gives a tremendous lesson to Little Boy, who ends up being knocked out after suffering greatly at the hand of the Spriggan. After the battle is over, Fat Man says that the United States will send more hunters to capture Noah's Ark. Jean, already out of patience, ends up firing a projectile at Fat Man's head, eliminating him once and for all. Later, the two Spriggans talk to Professor Mizell about the Ark. The old man tells the two young men that it is impossible to get inside the relic, stating that it must be activated by some device or a command in Hebrew. While the three were talking about the artifact, a little boy was approaching the secret base, using a barrier around him. He managed to repel all the shots that were fired in his direction. With his psychic power, he destroys the huge gate at the entrance of the place. Yu tries to fight him, but is quickly defeated with only 2 blows fired by the young man. Professor Mizell asks the young man to stop the attacks, as he would give him the Ark in exchange for sparing everyone's lives. The invader accepts the proposal, and so they head to the relic. The name of the new enemy is McDougal, a member of the Pentagon, known for his demonic abilities. Meanwhile, Yu is being threatened all the time by Little Boy, who puts a gun to his head, saying he will shoot at any moment. Faced with this critical situation, Jean appears on the scene. Enraged, he starts shooting at all the invaders. In the midst of his attempt to take revenge, he ends up being hit by shots, and with that he falls to the ground, telling all his enemies that they will regret it. A few seconds pass and Spriggan turns into an absurd monster. He eliminates all his enemies without any mercy, attacking anything that moves. In addition to his incredible strength, he now possesses a regeneration ability that heals all wounds present on his body. At the end, Yu explains that his companion is a lycanthrope and transforms every time he looks at his own blood. Professor Mizell finally manages to enter Noah's Ark together with McDougal. The little boy, without thinking about the consequences, triggers Noah's relic, and with that he could create any kind of natural disasters all over the world, such as hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions. The Spriggans arrive at the control room where the criminal was together with the professor. Yu asks Jean to take the professor to a safe place, while he would stop McDougal. Thus, a battle between the two begins. The little boy possesses psychic abilities, and it is quite easy for him to fight anyone. With his powers active, he breaks Spriggan's left arm without any problem, and thus continues to deliver several psychic blows to his opponent. Yu, on the other hand, doesn't think to counterattack him, saying only that McDougal wished to end humanity because he wanted a way out of his own crimes. The little boy uses his psychic powers so much that he ends up reaching his limit. The protagonist takes advantage of the moment of weakness of the enemy and advances towards him to give him a strong punch. At that moment, the people who were outside realize that the relic stopped working, because Yu removed the device from the young man's hand. McDougal, lying on the ground, tells Spriggan that his reason for living is Noah and his end should be by his side. After that, the invader captures the device again and makes it go into self-destruction mode. After all, for him that is the best way out. Yu tries to save him, but it is too late. Jean immediately goes to his companion and protects him from the destruction of the Ark. Thus the relic that is capable of bringing a second flood is totally destroyed. Everyone from the secret base manages to get out safely, and finally the two Spriggans return alive after yet another successfully completed mission. What will be the next relics that Yu will have to find and protect? Will the young man make a combat duo with Jean? So, what did you think of this anime? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like it and subscribe for more anime recaps. See you next time.